Welcome back. Good morning once again. Welcome back to Daybreak. I'm Victoria Rubadiri sitting in for Sam Gituku. Let's get into the discussion of the day this morning. Let me quickly introduce my guests in studio. To my farthest left is Honorable Caleb Kositan, MP for Soy constituency. Thank you, sir, for joining us this morning. Jane Muthiga, Organizing Secretary for the Agano Party, also with us this morning. Last but not least, ODM Secretary General, Mr. Edwin Sifuna. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you for having me. It's nice to see you again.
Oh, no, good to see you as well. Let's jump into the dailies very quickly. A lot happening on the Daily Nation. Looking at, of course, the IT gurus who both camps of the two leading presidential candidates, I must add, Mr. Chirchir there and Mr. Njoroge, Ruto and Raila banking on their experience ahead of the August polls. We know that your candidate, Edwin, of course, raised quite a few concerns yesterday, reiterating some of those issues that he wanted the IEBC to respond to. Top amongst those is the complementary mechanism for identification of voters. Why the delay in the response so far, do you feel, from the IEBC to some of these concerns, Edwin?
Yeah, it's difficult to speak for the Commission, but as you've rightfully pointed out, I think everybody who's a player in the election, certainly my colleagues who are on this panel, is interested in IEBC doing a good job. Yeah. We just want a free and fair process that will pass a test that has been set for the IEBC in the law. And luckily for us, the Supreme Court has already weighed in 2017 to, provide some sort of guardrails for them to be able to carry out an exercise that can pass a test of a free, fair, credible and verifiable election. So all these concerns, and I believe they are also being raised even from the other political players. Right. It is not out of spite or ill will against the IEBC. We just want them to do a good job. So that we have seen in the past, and those of us who have been involved in elections, even at the party primary level, Vicky, the problem begins with identification of voters. If you have a queue building up, people who are non-voters, for instance, everybody knows this guy is a voter. And then he goes there and is unable to be identified as a voter, and then the queue starts backing up. They hear that, oh, in my brother's constituency, in Soy, people are already voting and the lines are moving, yet in Kibra, in Langata, the lines are not moving because of the machines. That is where the tension begins. Yeah. So we want the IEBC as a commission to get it right at the first instance. And that is why we keep engaging them, and we have chosen to engage them in a very, civilized and formal manner. Every concern that we raise, we would like for them to address and to have a proper response that satisfies everybody, right. Certainly, yeah. Jane,
it's a valid concern, even though the IEBC has insisted we will rely on the electronic mechanisms to identify voters. In 2017, 2.5 million voters had to rely on the physical register to be identified. How much of a concern is it for your party coming into the August 9th election?
I think for our party, we actually say that we are quite comfortable with the electronic, mechanism. Yeah. And we are looking at it from the perspective that, this at this particular era, at least as a nation, we should be looking forward to really becoming more electronic and enabling progressively, our nation even being able to vote from wherever you are. Yeah. So we support that process, and we hope that progressively it can be able to build up. However, we are quite aware that technology can fail. And this being a very important, activity for our nation, it becomes actually important that they also put mechanism that where it might fail. But we also hope that they can be able to put proper electronic process. We are looking at it that IEBC will be able to use this process to ensure that we had a lot of spoiled votes last time. Over 500,000 spoiled vote. If this process would be able to reduce that number of, spoiled vote, this would be very, a plus going forward. Since each and every vote counts and it's important, and actually you should not have even a single vote being spoiled, because every Kenyan wakes up to go and, cast that vote with a lot of hope that it would make a difference. So losing all those numbers of votes is a big concern to us.
Honorable Kusitanya, we know Kenya Kwanza has a bit more faith in the technology aspect of all this, but how would you deem IEBC's preparedness so far, 34 days to go to the election?
Thanks, Victoria. I don't think we have a bit more faith. We have faith.
Maybe compared to the other parties involved.
We have a lot of faith in IEBC, and I think they are well prepared for this election. We have said as Kenya Kwanza that we are very comfortable with the electronic identification of voters, because that will truly translate into easily verifiable election results. And even if you would want to know how many people voted in each polling station, it's just a touch of a button on the KIMS kit and you have that. I think the IEBC chair has been very practical and very open in the way he wants to run this election. He has welcomed all players to write to him. He's available for consultations, and I think it is within the rights of ODM to write and demand explanations and assurance on IEBC preparedness. And I think it's a way to go. What I believe is that, as we have always said as Kenya Kwanza, this election will be free and fair, and it has to be. We cannot compromise on peace. We call on our fellow competitors that whenever they go, whatever rally they attend, they should first call for a peaceful election, which we have not seen them do, because we'd like Kenyans to transform such that every other cycle when we have elections, we are not scared of the violent bits of our elections. So I think as Kenya Kwanza, we are quite happy. So far, so good with IEBC.
No, absolutely. Going back to the front page of the Daily Nation, the top strip there, Deputy President William Ruto essentially telling President Uhuru Kenyatta, I made you president. And of course, this stemmed from a leaked audio recording from a rally where the Deputy President said he literally pushed the president to continue on with their campaigns in 2017 in the repeat elections. When it comes down to it, Edwin, what is the biggest bone of contention between the two now? Because you're looking at a split presidency as they're coming to the end of their second administration. Is it the succession politics? Is it the performance of the Jubilee government so far? Or this alleged betrayal between both camps? What do you read into this?
I think you've put it in quite a nice manner, because what it is actually is that there is a deputy president who threatened physical violence against his boss. It is something that is quite shameful. We do know that William Ruto expected that the president would back him in from 2022 for the election. And we believe that all the anger that we see the DP spewing against his boss is just because somewhere along the line, and they will tell us one day because, we were not there, somewhere along the line, the president made the decision that probably there is a serious character flaw. We don't know what it was, but he felt that his deputy was not the right person to be able to inherit him. There are very, very serious questions to be raised about some of the arguments that are being made about who made who president. I mean, it is arguable in 2013 that, in fact, the only ticket that could have secured the victory that they did was with the President Uhuru Kenyatta at the head. Any other combination, and there were other, discussions. I know that Caleb will recall there was a discussion to have Musalia Mudavadi at the head of a ticket. The only way that Central Kenya was going to vote in the manner that they did in 2013 was because of Uhuru Kenyatta being at the top of a ticket. It is speculation, of course, but everybody can tell that probably would have had a different result if, say, you had William Ruto at the top of a ticket and Uhuru Kenyatta there, or if they had Musalia and Ruto, So the proof of the pudding is in the eating. We want to see this person who claims to have made presidents make himself president now in 2022. And why the bitterness if really, the vitriol that has been directed at the president is quite unfortunate. They have painted a picture of a lazy person, unwilling, somebody who was being just forced to do the job that he was not interested in. And, this vitriol coming from your opponents is one thing, but for it to come from your own deputy, somebody who was sworn to be your helper, essentially, is quite unfortunate. So we wish that certain jokes not be made about the standing and the stature of the person of the president, but it is their choice, it is their style. This is what they have decided that is going to be the issues of the elections. I wish we would sit here with my sister Jane and discuss the Agano manifesto. What are the ideas? Instead of headlines like this, battles of IT gurus, let us see battle of ideas. I mean, we are down to almost just under 4 weeks of the election.
34 days.
Yeah, we should be discussing. Let Jane here tell us about the Agano manifesto, and we see and we compare what is the best possible solution for Kenya's problems. And that is what we should be talking about. No,
I absolutely agree with you. And to that point, Jane, let me bring you in, because your camp is trying to depart from this exact thing we're talking about. Yeah. You launched the manifesto yesterday, 12 points of commitments to Kenyans. How different do you see an administration under the Agano party being from the Jubilee Party in the past 10 years of what they've given Kenyans?
Okay, thank you so much for the question. But let me just comment on this.
Sure.
That I would actually be looking at the President Uhuru Kenyatta at this particular time being more, more concerned about facilitating a free and fair election. You know, a very, that would be the best legacy that he can leave for Kenyans, that he made sure that the process of the next government was quite good and quite fair for all Kenyans. That's what we expect of him. And actually for Ruto, our advice is that he concentrate on this, on his campaigns and the fight, the struggle to get to State House and offer what he's looking forward to. But as you say in Agano, we're actually a clean broom. We call ourselves a clean new broom. And a clean new broom with a lot of issues to address. One of the main things that our presidential candidate is looking for is actually to eliminate corruption. On the day of his swearing in, we'll actually draw a line, physically draw a line, and say, from today onward, anyone caught with corruption will be a serious issue, will not entertain corruption from that day.
Right.
And we have said that actually from there, we are going to have a commission that is going to give opportunity to people who have been there and have been tagged with those things, that they can come voluntarily and tell Kenyans, we are sorry, that was the error, please forgive us, what. And we'll be ready to do that because they are brothers and sisters, and you're looking forward not to antagonizing people, but making Kenya a better nation day by day.
Right.
We also we're looking at also into issues of, life is so difficult for Kenyans. And when you look at an employee, we're looking at an employee or at somebody who is being double taxed. You are taxed as on payee, you are taxed on VAT, actually double taxed. And we are saying from Agano that we want to give early leave on payee. Early leave on payee because actually if you look at it, Kenyans from 30,000, somebody earning 30,000, and 30% of that salary goes towards taxation. Yeah. Again, that's a very big, huge of money. Relief on payee, it can be school fees for a parent. It can be rent for some of these people. It can be food in the table.
Right.
That's what we are offering Kenyans, and we believe maybe we have promised 50% relief, but we are also doing further investigation to see what are other issues. Maybe it can become even lesser. Yeah. We'll look at it and see where we go.
We'll certainly get on to some of those issues later on in the discussion. But Honorable Kositan, let me bring you in here because, when you look at that top strip where essentially the deputy president is telling his boss, I gave you this seat. It was courtesy of me. But what is also very interesting, and you see people kind of criticizing the DP on this, is you were part and parcel of the Jubilee administration and should also own some of the shortcomings. He's tried to absolve himself and separate himself, especially since the handshake in 2018. But how is that possible? How do you reconcile the two, where he's part of this administration, but at the same time campaigning against it?
Thank you, Victoria. With the current political setup and all the politicians that are there now in the field, none of them has worked with Uhuru other than William Ruto. They could have worked together in other capacities, but none of them has supported Uhuru Kenyatta in his political ambitions as much as William Ruto has supported him. So William Ruto knows his boss very well, and we all know him. We campaigned for Uhuru in 2002, and we lost and ended up in the opposition. Sometimes when people say, "Oh, these people have never been in the opposition," we were in the opposition from 2002 to 2007 when we were in Kano, and we campaigned for Uhuru all over the place. William Ruto gave it his all. And we were doing it because President Moi had said, this is my preferred candidate, or my project, as it was called at that time. And come 2013, William Ruto had his own ambition to be president. And Uhuru also had the same. Somewhere along the line in the discussions on Ruto to be the president and Uhuru to be the running mate, we ended up in a discussion, and Uhuru said, no, I think we better get Mudavadi to be the presidential candidate. But we went back and told Uhuru, listen, the mathematics can't work. If that is the case, then you be the presidential candidate, William Ruto will be your running mate. And that is how we got the victory in 2013, same in 2017. I agree with you that William Ruto should own whatever successes and failures are there in Jubilee. But up to the time of the handshake, we can account for the first term. We know what we did. We had a very good, cordial working relationship. Same suits, same shirts, same ties, good camaraderie. We were working. The entire civil service knew who the bosses were, and everything was working like clockwork. Come the handshake, and we gave our reservations and said, this handshake is not about Kenya. It is about planning succession. And that is why at times we ask ourselves the question, does Uhuru Kenyatta love Kenya more than the rest of us, such that he wants to manage his succession in this manner? And that is where we say that the rain started beating us when we went off the track. We were on a good development track record, tarmacking of roads, connectivity of electricity. We were building dams here and there. Then we politicized everything. We even politicized corruption. And that is why when you hear ODM say, we never discussed corruption during our manifesto launch, we discussed corruption at a very high level. When we discuss and say we are going to depoliticize, we are going to get all these independent institutions out of state capture, such that the DCI doesn't have to wake up and call somebody in the office of the president and say, we want to arrest Kositani, but he's the minister in charge of internal security. What do we do? No. Let the law take its course. So what we're saying is that ODM cannot run away from the fact that they are in government. They are chairing some committees in parliament that are reserved in parliament that are reserved for government, and it is out there in the constitution. There are special committees which are reserved for the opposition, and there are special committees which are reserved for those in government. Now we are mixed up. We're mixed up. So I think when I hear them, and I think Jane has brought it up well, the cost of living has gone high. I saw yesterday during the rallies their deputy running mate saying, when we take over, we are going to reduce the cost of... You're already in government. What takeover are you waiting for? Reduce the cost of living now. Because those who can say when we take over are those of us who have been kicked out of government. And when I see President Uhuru Kenyatta lamenting, I think he's become too forgetful. He should remember that he gave an executive order that stripped the deputy president of all the powers and functions that he had in government and handed them over to a super CS. Those are the people who have failed the president. He kicked out William Ruto. William Ruto never failed him. William Ruto performed up to the time when the executive order was given and he was told, hey, I want to do my things differently.
Do you feel that executive order was politically motivated, or the DP was not delivering on his KPIs?
Definitely the DP has never been a failure. The DP has always delivered. When the deputy president was Minister of Agriculture during the Nusu Mkate government, he is the one who brought down the price of fertilizer. From, at that time, a bag of fertilizer was going for 5,500. They brought it down with President Kibaki. And Uhuru Kenyatta was Minister for Finance. He remembers very well. He knows what William Ruto did for agriculture. It was brought down to 2,500. They moved him from the Ministry of Agriculture to the Ministry of Education. That is when he went and started up the TVET's college. You remember the double intake in the university when we had our students finishing Form 4, staying at home for 2-3 years to waiting for. He decided, let's bite the bullet, let's have the double intake. Now we have our students finishing Form 4 this year and entering university the next year. Those are the things that were done by William Ruto. Those cannot be forgotten.
But the argument has been, if he became the de facto opposition within government, why didn't he just resign?
In fact, let me help you here, my sister Vicky. Even as we speak today is the 5th, right?
Yes.
The salary for the deputy president for the month of June has gone into 1 month's account. It is not anybody, it does not come to ODM, Mheshimiwa Caleb Kositani. It is him. And it is immoral for you to continue to draw a salary at the expense of Kenyan taxpayers and then to claim that you are no longer the deputy president of the republic or that you have nothing to do.
William Ruto has never said he's not the deputy president.
My brother paints,
he was elected for your information.
My brother paints a very rosy picture of the period between 2013 and 2017. I was a candidate for election for Senate in 2017, and I remember, Caleb, that the price of unga was an issue in 2017. The cost of living was an issue in 2017. It is not as if that in 2017 there was no question of corruption. In fact, the biggest scandals of the Jubilee government, the things that we are still recovering from, whether it is Eurobond, whether it is NYS, whether it is Galana, all those things.
And you don't talk about them anymore now that you are in government.
Just a minute. You have told us that you as a, I don't know what to call you now. I don't know what to call them. I'm just saying, as Tangatanga.
That's the conundrum right now.
So as Tangatanga, they are willing to take credit for everything that happened up to until 2017. So tell us whether you take credit for the corruption that went into NYS, the issue of Eurobond. You can tell us what happened. The borrowing, Caleb, that has gotten us into the problems that we're facing right now happened in the first term of Jubilee when we were telling you guys that, you know, some of these projects that you're borrowing to put money into were not sustainable. They were not going to give back to the economy in the manner that was anticipated. The question of the SGR, it was your first term.
So you're contradicting your boss. Raila has gone on record saying there's no problem with borrowing.
Just a minute. That's what I'm telling you. There's no problem with borrowing. You borrow and show us what the money went into. Vicky, do you know that the Auditor General told us that he could not trace a single project for which the 2 billion euros that they borrowed under Eurobond went into, you know? Yep. We are not saying that borrowing is bad, but if you borrow and then you steal the money, that is a problem.
That's the money you're using now for the campaigns.
Just a minute. Can I finish?
No, go ahead.
In silence, Caleb.
So Vicky,
he has told us that no, just a minute. He has told us that
there being a debate between the two. No, we'll come to you, Jane.
Let me just address some of the things that he's raised. He has told us about this rosy performance of William Ruto, stellar performance when he was the Minister of Agriculture. It is during his tenure, Vicky, that they liberalized. He liberalized the importation of maize. And we know that that is where the price of unga started going downhill. It is what demoralized our farmers in places like where he comes from and where I come from. They stopped planting maize because it was no longer profitable. They would have their maize rotting in, in their stores, and then Ruto and his friends would have trucks upon trucks of imported maize put in front of the farmers' trucks, And when the farmers complained that this is no longer a sustainable business we want to get out, it is William Ruto who told them to try avocados. Now, we're asking William Ruto, those avocados you're asking us to plant, tunaweza siaga hiyo tupike nayo ugali. Can we do that? So if somebody has messed us up and is currently the sitting deputy president, he's still earning a salary from now, you cannot run away from the ills of your government and then try and claim that it is the handshake.
But you accept that ODM is in government.
There were four agenda they called the big four. One of them was agriculture. The other one was food manufacturing, food security, and then manufacturing and low-cost housing. I want to ask you, Vicky, if you have set, your foundation for construction of a low-cost house, you have already put the concrete there. Is it going to stop drying because somebody shook somebody's hand? If you put fuel in a grader and you want to do the roads in soy, is the grader going to refuse to dig the road because somebody somewhere has a newfound friendship with an opposition leader? Let these people stop scapegoating and just accept that they are failures and that you being there in the period of 8 years that you've been there, you have had an opportunity to show us, Caleb, this bottom-up that you talk about. Where is the bottom-up in the first term when you were the co-president? Where is it? What is it that
I will answer you.
Yeah, so
and we'll have you respond. We have to take a short break here on Daybreak. We're getting into the cost of living, which is a huge issue. Of course, as seen on the cover of The Standard, they commissioned a report there on just how much Kenyans are feeling the pain and the bite of the cost of living. Stay with us. Let's keep the conversation going on social media. Hashtag Daybreak. Tag me at Vicky Rubadiri and, of course, at Citizen TV Kenya. We'll be back. Stay with us.